Welcome, people of the World Wide Web. So it's the weekend, so as you know what normally I pump out. It is a movie review, and as you can tell, it is the new Hunger Games movie, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So I went to see this a few days ago on Friday, the day it came out. Fairly packed super screen at a Cineworld, so it's good to see. Good to see a lot of people there, a lot of couples or a lot of young people, maybe probably fans of the original, because I think it's been quite a long time since, or I can't really remember too much of it, so please be wary of that. I also have not seen the books. So anybody who doesn't know, or it's a bit hard to tell on the trailer, is that this is set 65 years before the Hunger Games that we know. This is the 10th annual Hunger Games. This is where you are learning that this is kind of Snow, so the Donald Sutherland character, for the main one. This is him as a very young lad going to his teenage years and learning how he kind of becomes the person he is in the past, mixed in with the Hunger Games. There is no after credit scenes or mid credit scenes or anything like that, so you don't have to worry about staying around. What did I think about it? Right, so this is, I say, it's an alright story. It is. I think it could have been better. I believe it's directed by one of the directors who directed the last two Hunger Games, and he directed an earlier one. So I mean, definitely for world building and stuff like that, it definitely feels like you're in this world. I mean, they do that really, really well. I say, I didn't mind the characters, I didn't mind the actors and actresses who played them, but personally, I think the story needed to be done and structured a little bit better. But anyway, but yeah, I'd definitely recommend it. If you like the Hunger Games, I say I've seen a lot of people rave about it, but they've read the books or know more about it, so maybe I've missed stuff. But yeah, anyway, we'll put the spoiler warning up as per usual, and let's get into it. So the movie starts with, as I said, Donald Sutherland's character, but he's a very young kid with his cousin. They're running around like a war-torn area of the districts, basically looking for food. They come home and find out that their dad has been killed, and that this is where, you know, it now kind of goes down to Snow to be the head of the family. Snow is his last name, not his first name. And then obviously it skips a period of time. I think it's like 12 years or something, and then he's like a late teenager, and he basically is in the main district, or the capital of the Hunger Games. So people who don't remember, you have the capital and then you have the 12 districts around them, and basically there was a war and they beat the war, and basically they make all the districts suffer by having a candidate, a male and a female from each district, and they go and fight in the Hunger Games. That was the concept. We learned about that in the future ones. It's kind of glossed over a little bit. I'll get to that later, what my views on that. Anyway, so Snow is in his late teens, as you can tell. He goes to this kind of posh academy because his family are kind of royalty, even though he doesn't have much money. You can tell from that. He wants every year, when Hunger Games is there, the top class, the person who gets the best grades gets a grant of money. He's expecting that to kind of deal them out, but the runner of the games, so you have kind of the bloke who co-created it, and then you have Viola Davis, which I think she very much shines on this demonic kind of creator of the game, creator of what happens within the games and stuff, and they want to mix it up. Basically, they give each of the candidates a pupil to be with, and that pupil basically has to make that candidate shine. The one who does the best gets the grant money. Basically, that's how it's phrased. So Snow, he gets the lady from District 12, which is the girl who we've seen from The Heights. Oh, no, not West Side Story. I think she's been in. She'll be the new Snow White. Her name escapes me. I'll stick a picture up here of her, and then obviously I'll do one there of Snow, the lad who plays Snow. So they do quite well, playing their roles, say the stories, but I'll go over stuff anyway. So that is it. That's where the story. In the first half of the story is basically him trying to connect with her and trying to get her to win the games. Obviously, the games happen. Blah 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 blah. I say I'm skimming through this because I don't want to give. There's a lot of twists and turns. I don't really know. She wins. She wins because Snow cheats. He gets found out that he cheats, and he basically gets put in the army. And for the next 20 years, that is his job. You kind of see it on the trailer. He's kind of shaved head and soldier's outfit. So he goes off. He's supposed to go to District 8, but the girl, obviously, he was teaching, who won the Hunger Games from District 12, so he bribes his way to District 12 with what little money he has. And his best friend, who kind of comes from big family, who objects against everything. He is very much kind of a rebel, but he's not officially a rebel. He ends up coming along to him to District 12, and this is where then things start to kind of take a little twist. Like, Snow finds the winner of the Hunger Games, which is very much different from what we're used to. Obviously, they're royalty now. This girl, she was kind of given a bit of money and sent back to the districts. That's what you get, which is a bit of a rubbish, ain't it? You survived, 23 other people have died. Here's a little bit of money on your way. Well, that was worth it. Anyway, her and Snow connect. They form this relationship. He wants to go back to the city to help his family. She wants to get away from all this, the Hunger Games, that kind of scarred her, and she wants to live out with his friend being with him. His friend obviously wants to join resistance, and this is where everything then gets nasty. Snow ends up betraying his best friend. He gets hung. Spoiler alert given there, and anyway, I'll carry on at my thoughts and views at the very end. So yeah, that's how it goes. Then obviously Snow decides that he wants to escape. He escapes with obviously the girl who won the Hunger Games, but then they take a bit turning that they don't kind of trust each other by the time they get to the place or a stopgap to where they're going. He finds guns that are for the resistance, that are kind of lead to why they got trapped in the first place, and then there's a weird kind of, she goes off, he tries to hunt her down, doesn't find her, he comes back to the capital, and basically Viola Davis, who was like, oh, you betrayed your friend, I noticed that, and you did this and that, you want, I trust you, you're going to work under me now, you're going to have a good job and everything like this. And it's kind of, you see Snow start to become, like, he's an okay guy, you can kind of see he just wants to help his family, but then he just starts to go to a darker place. And I think that's maybe what they're trying to display. How they go about it is another thing to me. So yeah, anyway, he then confronts kind of the teacher who kind of was the co-creator of the Hunger Games. And then you learn that it was actually, so that's Peter Dinklage. He is the co-creator. Actually, he came up with it, and Snow's dad was the one that actually kind of took the idea, put their both names on it, and pleaded to it, and that's how the games were created. Obviously, Snow knows about this. Knows the bloke, Peter Dinklage, obviously has regrets against it because he thought it up and then didn't want to put it into place because all the people that died, he's been taking morphine since, and basically Snow poisons him at the end, and Peter Dinklage dies, and then you had Snow walking off into the distance. So, what did I think and what did I feel in this movie? Now, I feel this movie is structured very, very wrong. I mean, you literally have a very small point at the beginning where you see before the war, then it goes straight after the war to the 10th Hunger Games. Now, for me, they missed a massive point. You should have started this movie, Snow's dad, Peter Dinklage, coming up with the Hunger Games after the war, learning, half an hour, literally having the war ending. Why did we create the games? He creates it, have a second guess about it. Snow's dad dies. Then, Snow has to grow up to deal with it. And then you can kind of realise that, because Snow is kind of, he would come from royalty because his dad's name was on it, but he doesn't really get much of that acknowledged, apart from being in a school. But he hasn't really got any money. No one really kind of treats him with any respect. Everybody just treats him like anyone else. And that I felt was very weird. Having the Hunger Games done within literally the first half of the movie, again, it kind of, rather than story build and have the big action thing, like we've seen previous Hunger Game movies, let's kind of put a little bit of story, all the action, and then a bit more story at the end. And it kind of dwindled down. I mean, to me, like the characters did all right. Snow's character and the tribute that hit from District 12, like they're very two different characters, and to be honest, I didn't gel. I mean, they played the roles really well, but to me, they were very much seen as complete opposites, but complete opposites that you wouldn't really think would get together unless this situation. And that was part of me that was a bit like, it was very weird anyway, this situation is happening, and stuff, which probably shines out. I mean, Snow is seen as kind of the Palpatine of, like Palpatine was Star Wars. He is an interesting character, but this film is kind of all about him. And to be honest, if Star Wars weren't making a film about Palpatine, I don't think many people would see it, and I think this is probably where they're going to end up with the Hunger Games. I think it was structured wrong. We needed to learn more about the games and why they were created and stuff like this. Then have Snow kind of going through the school one that maybe not always on the right track, and then having him teaching the Hunger Games and maybe his candidate not winning, but his ideas being successful, and maybe that taking him down that dark path. I think that would have so worked better in this kind of setup. You know, I personally rate this a 5.7 out of 10. I know it's a weird rating. I mean, it is an okay movie. It's an okay movie within the Hunger Games, to say, but I think the story is not set right. You know, world building, they do really well. The actors and actresses have done really well. The story is okay, but it's just not right. I mean, you get stuff like the Hunger Games themselves. They are very lackluster in this. There isn't nowhere near the killing that we have in later games, and some of that did not make sense to me. Even I know it's earlier games, but they're not, you know, if you would have had and seen the evolution of these games, it would have made more sense. But it's literally like, this is when the war is kind of happening. Fast forward like 12 years later, and it's the 10th Hunger Games. Like, well, what's happened in this period? You know, you need to have a bit more background of that. And I say it's based on a book. I haven't read the book. What do I know? Anyway, that is my story of the Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I say it was okay. I'll probably get it because I've got all the other ones. I'm really hoping that maybe this does well enough to finance more films, because I think it's supposed to be a new prequel trilogy. But hopefully they can do better with the second one. Having an okay first movie gives you a good foundation, I think, to work up from that, which is, I think, a good thing, rather than having a great first movie and then struggling to live up to that. Anyway, I've been Cypher Sigma Screen Time. This has been my movie review. Hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments below if you agree, disagree. Otherwise, see you next one.